Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the channel, Nothing But Knicks. I'm your host, Stephanie of Dope Soul Sports Talk, doing my weekly show here on the Nothing But Knicks channel where it all started for me. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime we go live. That includes the Queen's Court, of course, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the NBA report with Ron and John from Still Nick fans, International Andy show, and then the Losers Lounge with my guy Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises, and of course pregame, postgame events, the coaches corner, any type of update videos from Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel. The Knicks are 2-0 since we last met here. We're going to talk about those games. We're going to talk about these upcoming games. But we're also going to spend some time talking about RJ Barrett, who's been playing well since the All-Star break, particularly over the last 3 games. So we're going to talk about that and what that means for us for the rest of the season and going into the playoffs. We may have more guests, but for now, it's me and Tony Crow. Tony, how you doing?
Peace, Queen. Peace, Queen. Shout out to the chat. Chat is live. Shout out to them. Your Black is time. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah. Salute to Andy, Geraldine MacGyver, Lion of Judah. I like that. Mariah Slaughter, Kerry Cox, Griff 181, Jarrell, Jabino 59, Nikki B from Harlem, and everybody else who's gonna come in later and those in the replay game. Got to give love to those who listen to the show after. Appreciate you. All right. I mean, let's get right into it. The Knicks play Minnesota tonight at 7:30. So since we last met here, we've gone 2-0. We're now 42 and 30, 12 games over 500. Who thought we would be that? Um, fifth in the Eastern Conference, 7-3 over our last 10, having won 3 straight games. Fifth in offensive rating over our last 10 games. 15th in defensive rating over our last 10 games. And the 2 games that we've played since we last did the Queen's Court was at Portland, where we won 123 to 107. Quickly, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 3-pointers. I'm not going to go over it all, but just a refresher. But I got to read Hart's number in Portland. 16 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, 2 3-pointers, 46.2% from the field. People were talking about this was the Cam revenge game. And Jarrell and a few other people said, what about the Josh Hart revenge game? And I don't know if Josh Hart had any animosity leaving Portland, but you couldn't tell by the way he played. And then Denver, Knicks up 13, Knicks down 13. We come back and win the game. Brunson's first game back, except for the little half that he played in Sacramento. I think he's been out, 4.5 games, something like that. 24 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Barrett, we'll talk more about him. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 61.5% from the field. And I believe in that game, he did not shoot that well from the 3-point line, which means that he probably was shooting lights out from
True.
in 2-pointers. Yeah. Randall, steady, 20.7 rebounds, 4 assists, even though he didn't shoot well. And Hart again, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 80% from the field. And I don't want to leave out Deuce. He didn't have enough room on the slide, but I don't want to leave out Deuce in Portland with his not just season high, if I'm not mistaken, it might
Career
have been
high.
his career high of 18 points. The usual defense. Anyway, now that we had that refresher out the way, anything that stood out to you this past week, Portland, Denver?
Well, first off, let me say, I should have went out on a limb last week. I didn't, but I was right. I said we was not gonna have a split. You know, and I was right. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna still take the credit and say we didn't get a split. So we got them both.
Okay.
Um, what stood out? Number one, probably RJ Barrett, which I know we'll get into it, so I won't even elaborate. I'm gonna just say he was kind of the standout guy in both games. Uh, Brunson's return, that first quarter was
Right.
definitely a standout moment. It could have been adrenaline, like the announcer said, but
Mhm.
we needed every bit of it. And if I got thrown out, you know what? I'm a say Mitch. The little mini controversy in the middle of the, you know what I mean, in the middle of the 2 game stretch, and then came back and manned up and gave his explanation and apology. You know what I mean? That's growth. So shout out to him for that, and then come out and performing um the second game, even getting put back in down the stretch where he hasn't been in that role, which probably was part of his frustration.
Mhm.
Um, not playing down the stretch, but getting those minutes down the stretch, hitting the 2 big free throws, and obviously the lob. So Mitch was big time in that last game. So that's definitely a standout for the whole weekend, or
No,
for the whole week, I should say.
no doubt. Let me add Sim to the panel, and then we could continue.
The Podfather.
How you
Right on.
doing, Sim?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to have you. I mean, on your own channel, but it's still good to have you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anthony D, by the way. Um, Anything stood out for you, Sim? Those two, we beat Portland and Denver. We only had 2 games last week.
Yeah. I
No
mean, I
wonder I ain't
think
have enough games on my fantasy basketball team. The Knicks only played 2 games.
right.
Yeah, anything that stood out for you?
I think the big thing for me is that we was, we had a 9 game win streak, then a
Mhm.
3 game losing streak, and we didn't let it get past 3 games. We responded and we were able to, get back, get back to winning. You know what I mean? Because the last few times we had winning streaks, we had an 8 game win streak, then a 5 game losing streak, and a 5 game winning streak, then 4 game losing streak or something like that. So, I was glad that they were able to. All right, you lost 3 in a row, but you was able to get right back to winning basketball games.
No doubt. Any concerns about how streaky the Knicks are heading into the playoffs? Because I'm like, we can get on a good streak and go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. But then I wonder, can it happen the other way as well?
Right.
Any concerns about how streaky the Knicks are heading into the playoffs?
That does concern me. You know what I mean? Uh, it concerns me. Because they do. They get streaky. Win for a stretch, lose for a stretch. Um, and you get in the playoffs, and if you can't get out of that funk, that's it. You'll be done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I guess the thing about the playoffs though is, if you lose 2 games, you're down 2-0. That desperation sets in.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So that changes things a little bit, but yeah, it does concern me. That the streakiness does concern me.
Sim, I knew you was gonna say it concerns you, and I wanted to say you jinxed us when we was on that losing streak, because you definitely said, you definitely called it after the first loss. You was like, yo, I worry, just like the last time we had the win streak, and then we had that 5 game losing streak. But I'll say this is why I'm not worried. Um,
Mhm.
Even in the midst of our losing streaks, right?
Mhm.
They were all games where we had opportunities to win, right? So it
Right.
wasn't like we
Yes.
go on a losing streak and we're getting destroyed, and,
Right.
and we lose, our complete focus of who we are, and things of that nature. So because we kind of maintain our identity, even when things are getting rocky and shaky,
Hmm.
or at least from the win-loss perspective, we don't lose our identity. You know what I mean? We play our game. We're always right there. We never stop fighting. So I'm gonna just say that's one reason why I'm not as concerned with it. If you know what I mean, because we get a loss, I think our mentality is gonna be much better to maybe withstand it or come back and
Can I take over
it's
for
the
five
same
minutes?
up to yes, the same and it could be the and it's gonna be the same opponent. So hopefully that will help with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Easier
That,
to make an adjustment when it's the same opponent as
yeah.
opposed to somebody new, a new challenge.
Yeah. That
Um,
definitely helps with that. You know what I mean? When it's the same opponent, and then you're able to, you know, during the regular season when you're hitting those 8-game win streaks or 5-game losing streaks, so many different factors come into play. You know, like we were talking about the other night. You might play Denver on one day, and you know what I mean. They got two players out, and then the next time you play them, those players are back. But now they made a trade, and they got some new players in, or whatever. It does become different, and all of those factor into your winning streaks and losing streaks when you're in the regular season. Get in the playoffs, it's that same team for the most part, unless somebody gets injured. It's going to be the same players. You know what I mean? So it's definitely different, right? It's definitely different. And now you gotta adjust to what the other team is doing a little bit more than in the regular season, stuff like that. So hopefully, they'll be able to, well, if they're on a winning streak, keep the streak up. You know what I mean? Keep the streak up. Keep that streak up. But if they lose a game or two in the playoffs, hopefully they're able to jump right out of it. The scary thing in the playoffs, you lose 2 games,
yeah,
you start to get, how tight does the team get? That
absolutely.
really gets
It's definitely a different animal, a different beast. Um, yeah, especially the first two. You know what I mean? Like if you win one, then lose two. You know what I mean? It's a little different feeling or whatever. But if you go down 2-0, that pressure is definitely
that
there.
desperation is yeah, that desperation creeps in. You go down 2-0.
Yeah. And especially, we'll talk about this more when we get to the playoff portion of the show. But if those two was at home and you go down 2-0, and now you
Yeah,
got to go on the road to try to salvage, your season, that could be
Yeah,
tough.
that's tough.
Yeah. I think what stood out to me, part of it was also the 4-game losing, the 4-game West Coast trip was how close
hmm
the games were, even without Brunson,
hmm
and how they were able to come back and win the last two on the road, but also the resiliency in the Denver game. I mean, and I don't think it's anything new. I think we know this about the Knicks.
and our streaks have been longer winning streaks than losing streaks. You know what I mean? Like and by a sizable margin. You know what I mean? It's not like 5-game win or 6-game win, 5-game lose. You know what I mean? Like eight and what was it? 8-10, eight
We
and
had,
ten
Eight and
compared
nine, I
to
think.
we had an
or
8-game
eight and
streak, then a 5-game losing streak. I think another
so
time we had a 5-game winning streak. Then I think we had a 3-game losing streak after that. Then 9-game winning streak and a 3-game losing streak.
Right.
so
Yeah. Yeah, I would just love to see us just, go on a 9-game winning streak, lose a game, come right back, be 8 out of 10, or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be better. But Anthony brought up a good point. What stood out to me was Josh Hart's ability to play some point. And I noticed that as well. And it wasn't just him bringing the ball up, but actually doing some playmaking, actually seeing guys, and actually making good plays in the half court. Because when Quickly moved to that starting lineup, basically, it seemed like at times he was playing the point guard in that second unit. So I don't know what else to say about Josh Hart. He's just standing out pretty much every game where it's becoming almost the norm. But we talked about this on Tony's show, and I just want to bring it up here. What stood out to me was Thibodeau. Thibodeau going to Mitch last night in that fourth quarter when Mitch played all right. Up to that point, I didn't think he was outstanding by any stretch. And if he did choose to close with, I wouldn't have argued with it because iHeart played pretty well in that first half. And I don't know what Tibbs' reasoning was to go to Mitch. Maybe it was something he saw in terms of matchups and things like that. But I was thinking maybe it just had something to do with not wanting to lose Mitch, perhaps, and wanting to show that he still had confidence in him, given what had transpired over the past few days. And whatever it was, though, he felt comfortable enough to go to him, even though he didn't have a great um, first half. And maybe maybe that has something to do with Mitch hitting them 2 free throws. Maybe he was pumped up. The coach is believing in me. He's going with me down the stretch. I haven't been playing particularly well. Let me hit these two. Let me really focus in. And not only did he do that, but the contest, I believe it was on the three, and then the goal, run down the court and be in position for the lob, right? That means he ran the floor. So it just goes to show with this entire Knicks team, it's uneven performances. Like, rarely do you say that the player had a perfect game. But at certain points in the game, even if they make a boneheaded move or they don't play well, you can still point to something they did well in the game. And that was Mitchell Robinson last night down the stretch. So that stood out for me.
And Queen, you definitely made a good point when you brought up the pass with RJ, and the reference to Tibbs closing with RJ after, 2 games of not closing with him after RJ was, avoiding the media and all that. So same type of thing could definitely be a confidence booster or way to keep you engaged and say, I haven't given up on you. So
Right. And I don't know if that's what it was. It could
I
have
mean,
just been something purely basketball. But that's what came up for me. Anything else about last week's games before we get into RJ Barrett, or anything else about the season up to this point?
Nah, I mean, I think I'm just still I'm just relishing in the good feeling in the season up to this point right now.
Yeah. Yeah. 12 games. 12.
12 games above 500.
41 was about, I think when we first did out the show on MBK, I had us at 40. A little later on, I said 42, give or take 5. Either way. It could be 37, it could be 4, depending on how things broke. But I didn't think 12 games over 500.
Yeah, I had him at like 40. I think the most I had him was 44, but I had him somewhere around 42, 43 games.
Right.
I was leaning 46 the whole time. I'm pretty sure. But I be overachieving and optimistic a lot of times.
Right. Right. Oh, I got a playoff question. Because Sim is here. Let me put this down because I'm going to forget. This was, we talked about, how do we know if the coach is actually making adjustments? People are like, oh, it's on Tibbs. It's on Tibbs, But you could lose and it not be the coach. So we'll talk about that when we get to the playoff section.
Yeah.
Let's get into RJ Barrett. Now, what I was trying to find, so I got his pre-All-Star numbers, his post-All-Star numbers in the last 3 games. And in parentheses, I have his field goal attempts, 3-point attempts, free throw attempts. I actually thought he was taking less shots, but apparently not. 16.3 field goal attempts before the All-Star break, 16.4 after, 17.7 the last 3 games. I thought he was taking less 3-pointers, but it doesn't seem to be the case. 5.5 before the All-Star break, 4.9 after the All-Star break altogether, and then 4.7 the last 3 games. It's nothing significantly different in terms of the number of shots he's taking, but the efficiency overall in field goal percentage, 42.8, 46.7, 52.8 the last 3. But the 3-point shooting is going in the opposite direction. 32.3 before the All-Star break, 27.1 after the All-Star break, and 14.3% the last 3 games. Now, what I was trying to get from Cleaning the Glass subscription required was him finishing at the rim. but they only had it for the season. Or if they did had it broke down like this, I wasn't able to find it. But
You can
we could.
just look at it and see
I
it
was
though.
about to say we could surmise
Right.
if he's shooting this efficient since the All Star break, and with those 3 point percentage numbers, that he's killing it from 2 point range. I mean, 14.3% from three.
Gotta be killing it from 2 point range.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a few questions. So let's start. What have you seen from RJ Barrett since the All Star break, and what, if anything, do you attribute it to?
Mm.
Hmm.
I do
I
want
mean,
to point out his offensive and defensive rating, if you believe in that, for individual players over the last 3 games, positive 7.4, and you know, a little better
Well,
since the All Star
the
break.
the one thing I was gonna say from looking at these numbers and all that is definitely even with that 3 point percentage, I will take last 3 game RJ, and live with the results because number one, we don't have the numbers like you said, but you can visibly see he's been attacking the rim a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
looking for the finish more than the foul, and the
Mhm.
foul is almost like a bonus, if you will. And I think earlier in the season, definitely first half, he wasn't trying to finish through contact. He was waiting for the whistle, looking for the whistle. Um, but then look at the free throw percentage as well. Getting real close to 80%, 79%.
Mhm.
Um, that we're gonna need from him. More importantly, like again, I'll live with that 3 point number. I mean, I want it better, but
Right.
if the free throws are going up, if he's finishing at 52%, that means the 2 pointers is falling. Maybe drop the 3 point attempts down one per game. You know what I mean? And I'll live with that results because everything else is very good.
yeah. I think I agree with Tony. I think he's been, just attacking the rim with more intention. Like with the intentions of scoring. So, when he's attacking the rim, he's not looking, and it may hurt his assist. It may hurt, um, you know, somebody else like Mitch who would get lobs from RJ. But I think overall, it's probably going to help the team when he's attacking the rim. Earlier in the season, he was, like holding people off with his back, hold them off, looking
Right.
to see
Right.
what else happens, and then come up to take a shot. And he might miss the shot, get it blocked or whatever. The past few games, he's going for self, right? When he's going to the basket, he's not worried about if I'm going to kick it out. Am I going to
Right.
lob it to Mitch? I'm just going to the cup to score. And I think because he's going with that type of a mindset, he's been more efficient while going because he's actually looking to score. And now he's probably going with more speed. When you're actually looking to score, you go with more speed.
Right.
Um, you may even have a little bit more lift when you get up. You know what I mean? To actually try to score the ball. So I think it's part of it is at least that mindset is, okay, I'm when I go to the basket, I'm looking to score because he's been attacking more and been more efficient while attacking, I think. So I think that might be part of it.
And if I could add um another big piece, believe it or not, has nothing to do with RJ. Is probably the addition of Josh Hart. And he's probably having a similar effect like Brunson is having for Randall. That for RJ in that second unit. Early in the season when RJ was playing in that second unit, if he was off or wasn't producing, um, the second unit was gonna fail. You know what I mean? He was missing shots, taking a lot of shots. Um, I think with Hart sedition, it kind of puts RJ in that role where I like Randall. I just got to focus on scoring. You know what I mean? And I don't really have to focus on controlling that second unit or being the the leader of the second unit. You know what I mean? Like I could just
Good point.
be to be a scorer and score the way I like to score.
I mean, so are you saying that he has less responsibility in that second unit, and that may be what's helping
Yeah,
him?
it's and I would yes, less responsibility, but it's more like focusing on this one responsibility. You know what I mean? So that might have increased, but that one, but it took away a lot of other things that you kind of we needed you to do. We need you to facilitate. We need you to play me. We need you. You know what I mean? Like not saying you don't got to do it at all, but it's the same thing like with Brunson to Randall. Randall has less of that responsibility. He could still get you 5, 8 assists, whatever it is in a particular game, but he doesn't have to do it play in, play out. You know what I mean? So now, RJ, I think he could focus on scoring.
Anything different or more, or would you like to see from him down the stretch of these games, these last 10 games or so, heading into the playoffs, or where he's at right now in terms of what you've seen the last 3 games is good enough?
I mean, I'll take what he's doing the last 3 games. If he does this going into the playoffs, I'll be happy with it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, if he can add 3-point shooting, knocking down some 3-point shots, that's even better. But I'd be happy with him being efficient from the field. Because I also think your shot is going. You feel good. It helps you on the defensive side too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I would be happy with this going into the playoffs. Obviously, though, at some point he's got to start to knock down some threes. For the Knicks to go to another level of play. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
it's on those guys. When you shut down, if teams shut down Brunson or Randall, those other guys, RJ and other guys, got to be able to knock down shots. So at some point, you're really going to need RJ to hit threes.
Yeah, I mean that was my next question. In the playoffs, is it okay that he's scoring and in the sense, maybe, obviously contributing, taking some load off of Randall and Brunson, whether he hits the three or not? Or do you think because of our poor perimeter shooting, we're gonna need some threes, not in addition to the scoring?
Are you saying like just from RJ Barrett? Because I
Just
feel like
RJ Barrett. Like if RJ Barrett just continues to shoot poorly from the 3 point line, but he's efficient going to the rim and he's averaging, you know, 20 plus points per game, is that good enough? Or do you feel like in addition to that, we're gonna need some 3 point shooting from him?
I think he's gonna have to continue the free throw shooting well, and he's gonna have to continue the finishing well. But even even me saying that, it's not like I'm saying all right he could shoot 17% the rest of the year, the playoffs, because I don't think he would. I have enough. This is probably one of the lowest points of his career as far as shooting the three. I think he was at 14 before, early in the season. I don't remember if it was this year or not, but still, I think he will turn it around. Like I don't foresee him staying at this low percentage. Like so, I mean, theoretically, he could start a series and shoot 35% in that series. You know what I mean? And get a hot stretch. We've seen that before too. So I I just love the fact that it's not hindering his game, which seemed to be an issue before. Like you know what I mean? Like or I don't want to even put it on the 3 point shooting. Like I said, the rest of the stuff he's doing well at. It was a combination before. It wasn't just bad 3 point shooting. He wasn't finishing before. It was turnover.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a plethora of things. So he cleaned up a lot of the other stuff. So again, I'm okay, and I think the 3 point shot is not like it's broken or so he'll be all right. He'll get it back up to his average.
But his average is under the league average though. Like he's just not a, I mean, other than that, the year he shot 40, his freshman, excuse me, his rookie year was 32%, then 40%, then last year 35%, now 32%. So I think he's somewhere around 34, 33, 34 um percent. I think that 40% is seeming more like an outlier.
I
The
mean, but
exception.
that's fair enough. That's what I mean. If he brings it up to 33%, but he's doing all those other little things,
Yeah, yeah, got you,
you know what I
got you.
mean? We'll be good. He'll be good.
Yeah, there's something about RJ Barrett other than his scoring. I mean, I didn't even know he was still taking 5 3-pointers per game. Because in the game, it just looks like he's going to the basket, finishing, going to the basket and finishing. And he's not even taking any threes. But he's still taking about, 5 3-pointers a game. He's not like we see here, not shooting them very well. But from the 2-point line, I mean 2-point area, he's just lights out. And we're gonna need that in the playoffs. Hopefully the 3-point shooting comes around. But guys, the team is gonna, instead of being able to say, listen, all we got to do is load up on Randall, all we got to do is load up on, Brunson, and we got this team. Now they got to account for, RJ Barrett and his forays, as Clyde would say, to the rim. Like they're gonna have to prepare for that, and hopefully quickly, So I'm a little more encouraged. I say all of that to say, going into the playoffs with how RJ Barrett is playing for the rest of the season, I want to see this continue. I want to see his defense continue because somebody said, did he lose weight? He's just looking quicker. I don't know if he's lost um, any weight, but defensively, he does look a little more alive. He's not, sorry about that. He's not dying on the screens and, things of that sort. So
Right.
only thing I would like to see, to your point, Tone, that 3-point shooting, can we get it up to like just 32%? Because 14%, 27%, yeah, that's just not gonna work. Some of you gonna say something?
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, no doubt about it. Um,
And RJ's performance has kind of come in the nick of time, if you will, because Randall's been on I mean, not a horrible stretch, but he hasn't been playing at the level he's been playing all year, recently. So it's kind of like made up for that, if you will.
yeah. How important does he need to be for the Knicks to get out of that first round? Is there a world where he doesn't play that well and the Knicks still get out of the first round, or are you adamant that without RJ Barrett, it ain't chances are it's not happening?
Mm.
Me personally, I feel like we need two out of the three of Brunson, Randall, RJ to play well,
Mhm.
and then we need two others. So whether it's Hart and Quickly, Hart and Grimes, Grimes and Quick, you know what I mean? I think so. You know what I mean? We're gonna need four people to play well, but two of them are gonna have to be out of RJ, Randall, and Brunson. If two of those three show up, and then our supporting cast, we have like a a great game out of a Quickly or a Grimes, and then I'll say Josh Hart just does what he does because I think I don't think we've seen a game where he hasn't impacted the game, whether we won or lost. Like he made a winning play here, winning, you know what I mean? So I think that is a constant.
Mhm.
Yeah. So either we need two out of RJ, Brunson, Randall, and then one out of Grimes, Quickly, and then obviously Josh Hart does what he does, and we could win a series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Um, I think all season long we've been winning games with RJ being up and down.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we could get a series with RJ not playing well. I think we get to the second round, we're gonna need all three to
Yeah,
be playing well
yeah,
every night. If not all three, you need a third person that's gonna step up. But you're
right.
gonna need three playing well every night in order to win in the second round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially, looking at the path that we're likely gonna go on, we'll probably be playing Milwaukee in the second round, Milwaukee or Boston.
yeah. That's gonna be tough. I agree with you. I think it's hard. Quickly has been playing well. Don't get me wrong. Quickly has been playing well. Um, it is. It's hard to me. I just feel I can. I, I'm feeling like I don't know. Do I want to say I'm feeling more comfortable that I can count on RJ Barrett more than I can count on Quick? Quick has been much more consistent during the regular season. No, no doubt about it. And to your point, Sim, RJ Barrett has been up and down. But I just think if RJ Barrett shows up in the playoffs as the third guy, I just think it has more of a lift than if
Mhm.
Quickly is the third. And I could be so off. I could be so off with that. It's just something about we got RJ because then Quick can do his, whatever, Quick does,
Well, so you're saying you're putting quickly more in that stance that I'm putting Josh Hart in. Like we're gonna get what we get from quickly either way, or
We're
you
gonna get what
saying
yeah, we're gonna
or you
get what we
saying if RJ's good enough, quickly could have a bad stretch.
or vice versa.
Or
You know,
or is it
or
like,
vice versa.
I don't want to say it. Is it like RJ's, I don't want to say his highs. If RJ's average play, would you say that RJ's average play, at least on the offensive side, is maybe better than Quickly's average play? So if you're getting RJ's average play every single night,
Mm.
it's going to be better than Quickly's. Like I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm,
I
I,
mean, is that where kind of you are?
maybe it is. I can't really explain it. I just feel like, yo, if RJ is averaging 20 points a game, this team is, you know, um, you know, I don't know. Maybe I feel like it just propels the team more. And I think part of it is also because of his usage.
Mhm.
You got RJ with high usage and you getting 20 plus points from that usage, you know, that's, that's pretty good. I'm not sure what it is, but it's just something about RJ Barrett being up and down and now finally looking like he's coming around. I'm just feeling like the Knicks are going to be in really good shape. Um, can we win without him? Yes. But that puts a lot of pressure on Quickly, and that puts a lot of pressure on Hart. I don't know if you would call it Hart is going to be fine, but even Grimes,
Mhm.
because the more you take that a high usage guy like that and he doesn't perform well, the further you got to reach down the bench for somebody to step up.
Right.
And once you get past Hart and IQ as far as scoring is concerned, you're gonna ask McBride, you're gonna ask Grimes. Hopefully they can to kind of make up for what we're not getting from Barrett. That's a tough ask.
Yeah. Nah, no doubt about it. I agree 100%. I mean, you know, the good thing is RJ, Randall, Mitch, they had that 1 year experience in the playoffs. You know, Brunson obviously has had some years experience in the playoffs. So this is really going to help them come playoffs this year. That experience they had a couple of years ago.
Shoot,
So
IQ and Obi too.
IQ and Obi, yeah, yep, they had that experience too. Mitch didn't play
Right.
in that
Mitch didn't
series,
play.
right? Right. Mitch didn't play in that series, but that experience I think is going to help them a lot.
Right. I agree. But I think Quickly though is in a much different role than he was that first time around. So I think
Right.
he has a feel for it because he's been there before, but we're counting on him. It's
Right.
a different role. I think then whatever he gave us, he gave us. Whatever he didn't give us, he didn't. It wasn't the expectations for him
Mm-hmm.
wasn't what they are right now. Um,
You
and
referring
we
to
were
RJ?
quick.
Oh, quick.
Right? Would you agree that we're kind of counting on him to come
Oh
through
yeah,
for us, or not?
Oh
Not
yeah.
not.
yeah, yeah. But it really is still next. Like I agree with the original take of. I think the way this team is structured, one guy we have guys that can step up. You know what I mean? So if RJ is down, Quick can step up. If Quick is down, RJ can step up. You know,
Right.
we haven't really talked about Grimes, but I feel like he could have a game that he wins us in the playoffs. So it's like, oh, if it wasn't for Grimes tonight, we don't win this game. So I think we've been I don't want to say bred, but we've been kind of nurtured that way to be ready, stay ready. Next guy up. Um, everybody's gonna have a moment, and I think the playoffs. Hopefully, you know what I mean. That's where we're really gonna see it manifest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the point you was making about, 2 out of the 3 with Brunson, or RJ and Randall is probably the same with the bench. You know, and you could put RJ over there as well. Like maybe it's not a particular person. It's like if it ain't Quick, then we need RJ. If it ain't RJ, we need like 2 out of those 3, in the bench need to need to show up. Need to show up for us. Um, yeah, and to your point, I do think Grimes can step up and have big games for us, and that will propel us. When you get not unknown, but players you weren't really expecting to play well and come out and play well, that gives you a lift. Um, if he can hit them timely shots that we get sometimes with him, it's going to help. But
Right.
can you go into the playoffs expecting that from Grimes? It's like,
That's the thing,
yeah,
because we've seen Grimes be up and down as well. And listen, when Grimes is hitting his shot, because he plays out there with RJ, with Randall, with Brunson, and Randall and Brunson attract so much attention, and they kick it out to Grimes. When Grimes is hitting that shot, it's hard. It's hard to stop the Knicks offensively, to be honest with you,
no doubt.
right? Because he's knocking it down, and then you have, if when down the stretch, a few games back, Chase was going with Quickly, and Quickly is always going to be a threat from the 3-point line.
Right.
And so if you got Grimes and Quickly both hitting that shot, or Grimes and RJ hitting
Hmm.
that shot,
Hmm.
it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and it makes it a really, really tough cover. You know,
Yeah.
that's why it's really important that those guys can knock down those threes. I think Grimes may really, if he's hitting his shot, he may really benefit in the playoffs. We talk about those guys that have to step up. There's going to be so much attention played
Oh my
to
goodness.
Randall Brunson and even RJ that Grimes may really be able to eat during the playoffs.
And as much as he's been streaky or whatever from three, I'm super impressed with his driving to the rim this year. You know, attacking the rim off
Right.
that 3-point line. I mean, he might be the most efficient at that on this team. You know what I mean? As far as scoring, but starting from the 3-point line and then actually finishing or getting a foul, he might be, you know what I mean, the most
He's up
effective
there.
guy on our team.
He's up there with Josh Hart in terms of finishing at the rim. And for his position, yeah, he finishes at a high rate. Listen, if the Knicks are hitting shots, they have a good chance of advancing in the first round. To me, that's it. They're gonna take away the first option. You know, if the Knicks are hitting shots, they're gonna force, excuse me, I should say, the rest of the team to beat them. Right? If the Knicks are hitting shots, it's over. The Knicks move on, in my opinion. It's as simple as that. You're not going to be able to load up on Randall and RJ, and to Sim's point, to a lesser Randall Brunson, and to a lesser extent RJ. Not going to be able to load up. Um, that gives them more space, and if you do double team, those guys are going to make you pay. So that's easy. The issue is we're not a good perimeter shooter, so we're shooting team. So we're asking these guys to start hitting shots in the playoffs, and if they
Right.
do, you know. It's
Right.
good. But since we're talking about the playoffs, let me just put this up and we can continue the conversation. The Knicks are right now fifth in the Eastern Conference, 2.5 games behind Cleveland for the fourth spot, 2.5 games ahead of Brooklyn for the sixth spot, and 3.5 games above Miami for the seventh spot, which is the play-in. Any concerns about the Knicks finishing seven? I mean, I think the bottom would have to fall out for the Knicks to fall behind that, beyond the dotted line.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even anything's possible, but I don't even think it's possible. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would be an epic collapse.
An epic collapse. It's hard for me to see it. I mean, first of all, well, let me see. Miami's what now? Miami's got 39 wins. The Knicks have 42. Yeah, it'd have to be a real big collapse for the Knicks to, end up in that seventh seed. I'm not saying it's impossible because they're
Right.
just 3.5 games above them, but I mean, you look at 10 games left, the Knicks go
Yeah.
500,
Right. There, yeah.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and they should be in there, you know?
Right.
Number one, we would have to lose both games to the Heat, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that would be one of the one things that would have to happen for that to work. Um, which theoretically whatever, but then it would have to still be some more bad luck after that. I don't see it.
Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see it either. Um, are you okay with the Knicks finishing in any position in the playoffs in the top six? Or are you looking for a home court advantage or a particular matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really looking for. I want the Knicks to be in the fifth or fourth seed. Fourth seed. I'd like the Knicks to be fourth seed or higher. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
I mean, if we end up with the fifth seed, I'm cool with it. I'd like them to be fourth seed or higher. I really would like for them to stay away from Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Boston in the first round.
Sam. That's
I like them to stay away from those three teams in the first round.
but
I don't care who we face. I don't care who we face. Um, and worst case scenario, 6 seed for me. You know what I mean? Like obviously avoid seven.
right.
But I'm not worried about if it's 6 seed and then it's Philly or whatever. I mean, if we try and get to where we gotta go, we're gonna have to face one of them anyway, right?
Yeah,
So,
right. But
uh,
I'd rather
and
face them in
and
the
if we
second
gotta
round.
face
First
two
round.
and we get through it now our confidence is through the roof. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you know what I mean?
yeah. I'd much rather face them in the second round than the first round, though.
But we were on Tony's show. Somebody had a comment, right? Somebody on Bleacher Report had a comment that they didn't understand why we wanted to match up with Cleveland. Like,
Yeah.
why do we feel like we match up so well with Cleveland? And I'm not sure that we do. I mean, they got a lot of, you know, we don't score that. We're not a good shooting percentage team, right? A lot of our points, is coming off of second chance points, putting up the threes. Even if we're not shooting a good percentage, if you put up enough of them, you're getting that extra point per basket. I don't know how many second chance points we get in with Jarrett Allen down there. And the Knicks are pretty good at keeping opposing teams, from scoring in the paint. The challenge is going to be on with Jarrett Allen, Mobley, Donovan Mitchell getting in the paint. You really think we match up well with Cleveland?
I mean, for
Or
me,
that's just the best of the worst.
well, see, for me, it's not even about Cleveland. I don't care if it's Miami in the fourth seed, Brooklyn in the
Mm,
fourth seed, right? Personally, I just want to avoid those three into the second round.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
being in
Gotcha.
that fifth seed, fifth or fourth seed, if you're in the fifth seed, you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to play the fourth seed. Well,
Right.
if you're in the fifth seed, you're going to play the fourth seed. In the fourth seed, you're going to play the fifth seed. You know what I mean? I just, I want to see those guys in the second round. I mean, obviously, you got to get through them,
Right.
if you're going to get through the championship, but I'd rather see those guys in the second round.
Okay.
Yeah, but for me, it's not particularly. Oh, it's got to be Cleveland we match up. It's just
Gotcha.
that's who happens to be there in the fourth seed for me
Gotcha.
right
Gotcha.
now. But if it was Brooklyn, Miami, whoever, I just rather see them than Milwaukee, Philadelphia, or Boston in the first round.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I mean, the Knicks, you hear some in the fan base saying, if the Knicks don't get out of the first round, it's a failure. But when you look at the teams ahead of the Knicks, I don't know if the Knicks are going to be the favorite, no matter who we match up with in the first round, if the Knicks are going to be a favorite. We're playing well in the regular season, but as we saw 2 years ago, and if you watch the playoffs, you've seen this. The playoffs is just a different animal. It's just different. Um, what are your would it be a failure if the Knicks didn't come out of the first round, or is it more about not necessarily them coming out, but how they look during those games?
I think for me, it's more about how they look. I'm not going to say it's going to be a failure because you're going to be playing a tough team. Cleveland is a tough team. You know what I'm
No doubt
saying?
about it. No doubt
Tough
about it.
basketball team. So, there is no shame in losing to a team like Cleveland. They're going to be a tough team to beat. No matter who we face in that first round, it's going to be a tough team to beat. Some tougher than others. So I'm not going to look at it as a failure. It's more going to be how did we perform? Did we
Mhm.
go in there and get swept and just got mopped
Mhm.
up?
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
that's the case, then we have a long ways to go. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But let's say we did play Cleveland and we took them to 7 games and we lost. And
Right.
then Cleveland, in turn, upset Milwaukee and went to the Eastern Conference Finals or went to the finals. Now we're like, oh, well, maybe we close.
Right.
Then we took this team to 7 games and maybe we need a little bit more. So I think a lot of it's going to depend on how we look, how we perform.
Right. Pablo M. It wouldn't be a failure. Oh, he said he wouldn't be a failure. This team is still building. Get into the playoff twice in 3 years. That's a failure. Josh, anything short of a competitive series is a failure. A Train, if Knicks don't show up, it's a failure. So it's how they look. Trader third, maybe a failure to some Knicks fans, but nobody else in the basketball universe expected the Knicks to be this good this year. Kevon Bergen, I don't care if we lose all games by one. We lose in 5 or 6, that's a failure. Wow. Even if we lose by one. Okay. All right. I mean,
Yeah.
right. You know, I don't think it wouldn't be a failure in my opinion. And one of the reasons I want to finish in the top 6 is to be guaranteed a series, to be guaranteed at least 4 games to see this team, to evaluate. Um, to evaluate how individual players look, to evaluate how the team looks, to evaluate what we're going to need, um, in the playoffs, to evaluate how good. I don't want to say how good Randall and Brunson is because I don't want it to be like those two guys have to drag us to the second round. Like if they don't get help, it's just not going to happen. But I do want to see how they perform um, in the playoffs, as well. And I want to see, Tibbs as well in the playoffs. Any adjustments, obviously they're going to adjust to us. What adjustments are we going to make to the adjustments they make to
Mhm.
us? And what adjustments are, we doing for them? One of the things I don't want to do is come out differently than how we've already played.
Right.
Let them take that away from us. Then we adjust. Don't come out adjusting right from the beginning. So I'm
Right.
interested in seeing Tibbs um, as well. And then the question I had for you, Sim, and we talked about this on Tony's show, is how would you be able to evaluate the coach? Because for some, they're not going to even look at the roster or what have you. We didn't get out of the first round. The coach didn't do a good, the coach didn't do a good job. And sometimes it's hard to tell? Was it the coach or was it the players not executing? What criteria would you use to
I
um
think,
yeah, what you
yeah, I
use?
think I'm going to look at, because we talked about this the other night when Will was on the show. Uh, I'm going to look at the adjustments that the team made, the coaches made from game to game,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes those adjustments, you might make the right adjustments, and the players may execute it well, but you still may not win the game,
Right.
right? The team may just be better than you. Um, you might make an adjustment and the team can't execute it, or you might make the wrong adjustment. But I want to see what kind of adjustments they make from game to game, right? The coaching staff. That's how I'm going to determine, how well they did. And some adjustments we may not see, like to the plain eye, we may not see, but some adjustments we are going to see,
Right.
And I know a lot of people have complained about Tom Thibodeau and his coaching in game, like adjustments that he's made in game. And I'm just telling you from experience, it's hard to make adjustments during the game. There's some things that you can adjust to, like you can clearly see, well, the team went zone, so let me do this kind of offense, right? Or maybe let me switch my defense to do this because they're doing something. They're shooting threes, so now we need to guard the 3-point line. Or this guy's really, really hot. I'm going to make sure Quentin Grimes doesn't even help off of this guy. Just
Right.
stay attached to him. So you can do some of those things, but the intricate adjustments, you can't really do it in game. You know, a lot of times it takes watching the video afterwards to see what exactly a team did. For example, we played a team where they had one girl that shot, like, her favorite shot was a step back three, right? And so we were guarding her all around the 3-point line. They set screens for her all the way around the 3-point line, right? And we shut her down in the first half, and we had a big lead in the first half. In the second half, they came back, and it was hard to see what did they do. And they started out rebounding us, and it was like, what did they do? And so when we look back at the tape, we could see that what they did is said, okay, we're going to let you guard her out at the 3-point line, but we're going to take 3 people and put them around the box so
Mhm.
that if she misses, we got 3 people to your 1 or 2 trying to get the rebound. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of hard to see that when you're out there on the court. But that was just, a little adjustment that they made that was successful for them. And guess what? We still ended up winning the basketball game, but it was successful for them anyway, you know. So when you start seeing things game to game, when you see when you see the same team, and you're not seeing a different team, now you can adjust game to game, because during the regular season, you see Denver today, you might not see them
Mm,
for another 3 months.
correct.
And so how do you adjust to something that they did the first time you played them, when they may have a totally new roster or whatever it is? Now you're seeing a game, you're seeing the same team every other day. And for the most part, you're going to have the same players out there on the floor. You get to know this team very well. Now is when that coaching really, really comes in, I think. So that's what I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And then also the execution of it, and do you have the players to execute it? Do you have the players to execute it? And even if you do, are they executing it?
Right.
You know, um, Especially if it comes down to shooting. Like the defensive stuff I want to see. And I've seen more of that this season. Like I've always said, why are we allowing their best shooter, the best player on the team, to beat us? Why are we not double teaming and allowing, the other players on the team to beat us? And, I saw it multiple times this season, but I saw it the last 2 times we played Philadelphia. That third time we doubled Embiid, he did what he was supposed to do. He swung it to the other players, and they weren't hitting shots, and
Mhm.
they lost the game. The next time we did the same thing, took the ball out of his hands as much as we could with the double teams, and Niang and Maxi was hitting shots, and we lost. You know, but I guess I felt like we took it out their best play. We took a chance and took it out of their best player's hand, and and they beat us. So that's something I'm looking to see. One of the adjustments I'm looking to see from, Thibodeau. And I don't want it to even be and you already know who the players are. So we shouldn't have to wait to the second game. I'm not saying to come out in it, let them do what they do. But when they start getting hot or whatever it is, I'm hoping you already have it in the game plan, what we're going to do to take the ball out of this, particular player's hands. And whenever you do that, the better your team is, you could take away one option. They could run option 2, 3, and 4. If that's Golden State, right? If you have,
Hmm.
that type of team. Obviously, if you don't, you take them out of their hands. It gives you a chance to win.
Right.
But anyway, Sim or
No,
Tony.
I was just saying, right. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this, to see the interplay um, in the playoffs. From game to game, coach to coach, and basically how good we are when we get down to our second, third, and fourth option on offense. Anything else about the playoffs?
Just can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see who we facing, where we going.
right.
Cause I'm going. I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, me and Tony was already looking up. If we play Cleveland, we was already looking up ticket prices. If we play Cleveland, you know what I'm saying? Well, we were seeing what the
Mhm.
regular season ticket prices look like.
Right,
You know,
right, right,
we
right.
already, you know,
I'm
making
not.
plans.
I hope I don't have to go there. I mean, Cleveland is just. I want to go somewhere where But yeah, I mean, I guess keep me posted. I'm flying
Oh,
out there. I ain't driving to Cleveland though. At what point would you consider resting guys, or do you think chemistry and momentum heading into the playoffs is important?
I mean, I think, I think we play out until if we are like we discussed earlier, if we're in the playoffs, you're gonna get a week of rest because of the playing games.
Right.
So you know, it's gonna depend on. All right, you might be in the playoffs, but now are you still battling to get a higher seed?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If I'm going to rest anyone, I'm gonna wait until I know I'm out of the seeding fight. I'm no longer fighting for a seed. I'm locked in at whatever seed I'm locked in at, and that's what I'm doing. Up until then, I think I'm battling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we was talking about this. We had the 3 games before the Denver game. After we play Orlando, we have 3 days off.
Hmm.
And then we have a week um, after the play-in starts on the first round starts on April 15th, and our last game is on the 9th. Right. So that's a pretty, decent rest
Right.
um, right there. And
couple of them.
as, yeah, and as much as I think we've been good on the road, doesn't hurt in the playoffs to have home court advantage if you can get it. If you can get it,
Right.
it doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
Well, let's move on to next week's games before we get out of here. We play Minnesota tonight, Miami Wednesday, Orlando Thursday. Minnesota's 35 and 37. Miami 39 and 34. Orlando 29 and 43. They've been playing okay. Minnesota 4 and 6. They've lost their last 3. Miami 6 and 4. They've won 1. And Orlando 3 and 7 lost. I don't think we can take any of them lightly. Regardless, we went over Minnesota today in the pregame.
mhm.
25th in offensive rating over the last 10, but their defensive rating over the last 10 is 9th. Now they're going to have guys out. So will that defensive rating hold? Gobert is going to be out. I'm not sure if we got the word on Anthony Edwards yet, whether or not he's playing. But if those two guys is out, I don't think they're going to be as stout defensively.
According to the Timberwolves chat, Ant is out.
He's
So,
out. All right. So they're going to be a bit desperate. They're going to give us everything they have. But I think this Knicks should still win. Miami, and I think this is the Kevin Love effect. Their last 10, they're fifth in offensive rating. And Miami has not been a really good offensive team this season. 119.1 points per 100 possessions, but 27th in defense over the last 10. That's the Kevin Love effect too, probably. Um, you know, and the defense hasn't been as stout. And Orlando 21st in defense, excuse me, in offense, 26th in defense. Just your thoughts on these three games coming up this week. Miami and Orlando is a back-to-back.
Yeah, Orlando's a trap game for me. I'm already on record. I feel like Orlando and Cleveland are our biggest threats the remainder of the season as far as wins and losses. I think we should beat Minnesota. You know what I mean? Obviously, don't take them lightly. Missing guys, play our game. We should win that one. I like our matchup against Miami. I think they're kind of on their last leg. I feel like. I think it might be really time to retool and rethink what direction they going after this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the team that has like what 4 or 5 undrafted players on their roster. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of been real bargain bin shopping, if you will, and no not to discredit because some of those guys they earned their contracts. You know what I mean? They playing well. They got things to prove, but overall, I just feel like they have not been the same Miami of the past 3 years. And even that Miami of the past 3 years, I felt like the Knicks matched up well against them. So we got better. I think we should beat them. So 3-0, I'm going. I'm going on a limb this time. No subliminal.
I mean, I think we could go 3-0 too. This year with Miami, I feel like I said, I felt like this was the year that like Miami was the older brother, because we played similar styles. And over the past couple of years, the Knicks really struggled winning games against Miami, close games, and that this was the year that the Knicks would, start to win those basketball games, and they have. So I think the Knicks can go 3-0 over the next couple of games.
Right. Any
Few
cons-
games.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying few games over the next few games.
Right. Any concerns though that the last time we played Miami, we won. But if you remember, it was a game winner by Julius Randle. Like it wasn't an easy game by any stretch.
Right.
And this game is in Miami as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I
can
mean,
I just say we're gonna get the best? We'll probably get the best Miami we've seen this year. Like they're fighting for things of
mhm.
that nature. Um, but I think they're gonna get the best Knicks. So
I
And I
mean,
wonder,
it's gonna be a battle.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And then I'm wondering who was behind. I hate to go back. Well, let me do it this way. Who was behind Miami in the Oh, okay. Oh, but they're only one game behind Brooklyn. So
Right.
they're gonna be scrapping.
They're scrapping. Right.
Yeah. They're only one game. Yeah.
They battling.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's been tough for them. You know what I mean? I've been following them. They haven't been playing their best. You know what I mean?
Right. 6
Two
and
game
4
win
over their
streak, I think,
last
but they
10.
squeaked them.
Say that again?
I said they on. You said they were on a 2 game win streak
No, no, just one.
or one. All right, because I was gonna say they must have squeaked them because I knew they had lost a couple prior to.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tough game. I think it's because it was a tough game the last time we played them, we won at the buzzer. They're fighting to get into the playoffs, and they can smell it. They just one game.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a barn burner, but I just think, well, I don't want to take anything away from Butler and Bam. They're good, but I don't know. I just think the Knicks are a better team. I just think the Knicks are a better team.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I think they're better.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are a better team. And I would think I don't have the roster, but I would think our bench is better, um, as well. I would put our bench with Quickly, Josh Hart, I Hart, and Art. Well, I say RJ. I put RJ Barrett on the bench because he plays with those guys over any bench in the league, really. Yeah,
You said RJ plays
with the bench, with our bench. So I would put our bench and how it matches up with any other bench in the league,
right,
particularly if you add RJ who runs with the bench.
right.
So I don't have the roster. I don't know who's on their bench, but I can't imagine it's as good as ours.
Yeah, I mean, we got a the Spider-Man meme where they pointing at each other. We got our Jimmy Butler coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like come on.
Right, right, right. And Kevin Love, he could hit if the Knicks let Kevin Love beat them, but a lot of it depends on, you pinching and you trying to stop a drive or something like that, and they kick it, and they kick it out to him. But come on,
Mhm.
come on, come on. All right. So I say 3-0.
Yeah, I
As
think
well.
we can go 3-0.
Yeah, I think Miami's going to be a tough game in Miami. I
Right.
think Orlando is not going to be easy on the back end of a back to back with those young guys, but I still think we pull it out. I
Yeah.
think when we back here next Monday, the Knicks are on a 6-game winning streak.
Mm.
And 15 games over 500.
That'd be monstrous. 6-game winning
What?
streak, 15 games over 500,
At 45 wins
45 wins. My
with
goodness.
7 to go.
With 7 to go? What? All right. Let me calm down.
Oh boy. All right. Any last words before we go get our chicken wings or whatever we're gonna get for tonight's game?
Nah, I think I'm good.
Nah, this is always dope to share that panel with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's just good to be back in the company of you two. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this game tonight and looking forward to the Knicks going into the playoffs. It just feels good to know that the Knicks have crossed over. We're not lottery talking. We're not draft talking. We're not talking about
Exactly.
tanking. We're
Exactly.
talking about who we're gonna face in the first round. You know,
Who we
should
gonna
we
beat?
should we rename the draft party? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. We spoke about that earlier. So we
Should
got.
we rename the draft party? These are the conversations we have now. Anyway, so for the chat, I appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Yeah.